Good people. Uncle Hotep back at it again. How y'all doing out there? It's Monday. Fresh start to the week. You know, and I'm still going in on these black millennials, these black shines, these nogs. You know, because what bothers me with sometimes these cats is these language, this verbiage. You know what I mean? They play it out. You know what I mean? It's not like you can't say the words, but when you say them an infinite number of times, you know, it loses its meaning, it loses its bearing. Like nobody cares. We just start tuning it out. So I'm trying to help these shines out. So I'm gonna give you 5 words, 5 buzzwords that these people have played out already. These millennials, these black millennials, these white millennials. You know what I mean? The white liberals. You know what I mean? Etc. 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 They played it out. One. Let me just go with the top of the list. The top one they use so much is out of control. It's problematic. They've anything that they don't like hearing, they label problematic. You know, if somebody calls somebody a name, they say it's problematic. If you have a certain viewpoint on a certain people's gender or something like that, it's problematic. Like it's all it really means is they don't like what you're saying, so they label it problematic because they don't like it. You know what I mean? It's not like it affects them in any way. Like, how is my words affecting you? You know what I mean? I got in this big spiel the other day about people's words affecting them. Like, it's dangerous. These words are dangerous to these people. Whatever happened to sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt. What happened to it? You know what I mean? That's something I heard all coming up. They taught it in preschool, in first grade, and all this other junk. Now, I guess the millennials never heard that saying. It's stricken from the rule book, the nursery rhyme books. It's stricken. I want to wager they might have made it illegal to even say that verse. You know what I mean? So how will these words affect you like that? And then they'll say it's problematic. Oh, you're being problematic right now. What all it really means, you're saying something I don't like, so I'm gonna just label it problematic. Like, come on, people. Like, y'all can't be serious with this shit, man. So that's numero uno. I mean, they wear that out to death. They wear that out to death. You know what I mean? Nobody, and they use it because that's how they defend their lifestyle, their outlook on, I guess, on their outlook on particular things on life and their positions on particular things. You know what I mean? So that's how they protect it, by using the word problematic. Nobody cares about what you're problematic about, man, or what I'm being problematic about. What I'm saying should not be problematic because it doesn't affect you anyway. That's just my opinion. Shines. That's number 1. Number 2. Let's go with cisgender. You know what I mean? They usually use one of the two. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Sweet tea Twitter, they like to call people, I guess cishet and cisgender means people that take their same gender they're born with. Don't ask me to explain it because I can't. It doesn't even make sense to me. You know what I mean? I want to call this. I used to troll people back and say it's a slur. You know what I mean? Don't call me cisgender, you're a slur. You know what I mean? But they use it to say they're the normal male female gender, whatever that means. You know what I mean? They do it to I don't know why they use the word cisgender. You know what I mean? Because I guess they don't want to say normal because they want to think what their 58 genders is normal. So they want to do with they roll with the birth gender and birth whatever. You know what I mean? They wear that out to death. Like, how can you come up with a new gender in 2017? Like, we got a new understanding of human beings, even though millions of people, human beings have been here millions of years. You know what I mean? And it's always been male and female, but now they want to they want to break these genders down. So, and in order to break these genders down, they got to come up with something for the old normal, and the old normal was, of course, male or female, and that's why they call it cishet. You cis people, and they do use it as like trying to a clap back, because if you don't agree with them, they were like, oh, these cis people are being problematic. What do you mean, you cis people? What is what? Yo, it boggles my mind. I don't understand it. These black millennials are just, they're shines, man. I mean, I remember when black millennials used to black people used to make up words like fresh and dope. You know what I mean? Even when these shines made up word fleek, it's better than what the cishet and cisgender. They're shines, man. I can't take it. All right, so that's number 2. Number 3 is white supremacy. They wore that out. They wore it out. It's a buzzword now, you know. Like, you know, I'm an elder. I'm an old head. You know what I mean? So I've been around the block a few times in America. Now, they use white supremacy more than almost any generation I've seen come up in Black America. But the thing is, they're furthest away from the racism that actually took place in America. You know what I mean? They use white supremacy to explain all their misgivings and shortcomings. You know what I mean? They don't. If some black folks don't make it in life, it's because of white supremacy. And it's like, you know, I mean, cats like Tariq Nasheed, and you know what I mean? He actually, the thing about Tariq Nasheed, he works for the white man, but all he does is talk about white supremacy. And y'all know what white man I'm talking about. So this is what the Tariq Nasheeds and the Talib Kwales, they sit there, you know what I mean? These are mouthpieces for the people behind the white supremacy machine. It's crazy. What is this? I find it funny that the Shine can say white supremacy when the majority white folks, some of these white folks like the alt-right are trying to fight to stop immigration coming in this country. So if which one is it? Like, either they're white supremacists or they should be in control of their country, or they're not. I mean, if the simple fact that they're not in control of their country should tell you white supremacy just doesn't exist. Am I right or wrong? I think I'm right. I don't know. So what was that, 3? 4. Privilege. Man, everything is a privilege, man. There was this, I think I talked about in my last video, man Joe Dubes, Hotep guy, wrote that book, Black Economics book. It's fire. Y'all might see me tweet about it. He was in this YouTube show with these black millennials, and if you heard privilege like so many times, like if I had $1 for every time I heard the word privilege, I'd be a millionaire. Billion, I don't know. I'd be rich. I'd be a rich Negro. This is how much they use the word privilege. Everything is a privilege. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. You know, African Americans, a lot of them African Americans started from slavery. But that's not to say every African in this country was a descendant of slaves. Let's get that out the way first. Not everybody that is black in America is descendant of slaves. That's obvious. Like Barack Obama isn't a descendant of slaves. He was the descendant of the slave masters, the slave traders. You see what I'm saying? So the Barack Obamas of the world weren't ever slaves. You know, his people was never slaves. So I mean, but there's a lot of the majority. I guess I would say the majority of people come up from slavery. Now, of course, that makes your starting mark in life and your families a little bit lower than other people. Not everyone, so because some people came over here with nothing as well. You know what I mean? But to go from not able to read to being taught how to read, you know what I mean, to building schools, we've come a long way. But the Shine, the Akata, the Black Millennials, they call it, since they have their certain groups of people, some white people, some other people that have things in life, they call it a privilege because they has a starting point. You know what I mean? They call it a privilege because their families laid the foundation for them. You know what I mean? They still work hard, but they had a head start, quote unquote. That's not. I mean, life isn't fair. You know what I mean? Life is not fair. You know what I mean? So just to say that is a privilege, no. I mean, people worked for that. You know what I mean? There was blood, sweat, and tears for that. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I mean? They'll say cops is pulling over black motorists more, and that's always been the case. But you got to think about it. Let's say if you're a police officer, right, and one group of people who's never going to have their license right. They're more likely not to have their license, their paperwork right. You know what I'm saying? They're more likely to ride around smoking weed in the car. Which way? And the other group is not as likely to do those such things. Which one are you going to pull over more? Knowing your job performance is on the line, so whatever tickets you come back and arrest you get back, that's what the base of your performance is going to be based on. Now, is that, quote unquote, is that the group B, is that privilege? Or they're just not as simple-minded as the other group? You see what I'm saying? These shines don't want to think about this. It's crazy. Everything is a privilege. No, not everything is a privilege. People work for this stuff. Just because, I'll take another part. Just because white folks would rather hire white folks for their jobs, that's just taking care of their own. You know what I mean? Indians would rather hire Indians for their jobs. Asians would rather hire Asians for their jobs. That's not privilege. That's not white privilege. That's looking out. Just because black people don't look out, and we know that's a fact. Anytime there's black businesses, y'all will complain about the customer service and this, that, and the third. Don't even want to work with the people. Y'all drag their name in the mud. The first chance y'all get. The white man's ice is colder with y'all. That's not privilege. That's a lookout. Black folks need to do the same thing, but you shines, you don't want to ever talk about black economics. You black millennials, you don't want to talk about black economics. All you want to do is fight systematic oppression and racism because it's problematic. So that was that four. And then in the fifth, I mean, systematic racism. You know what I mean? No, wait. No, yeah, systematic racism. Now, these, like I said before, these black millennials they're the furthest ones away from systematic racism. You see what I'm saying? You know, a lot of these cats got these degrees. You know what I mean? They're probably the most educated generation of Negroes, but they're the most complaining about these things like systematic racism. Like they'll say the jails are systematic. This is another sign of systematic racism because the amount of black people in jail compared to, you know what I mean, the population of them in society, in American society. I mean, that's one. You're not gonna get a lookout when you black people going to jail in America. That's just obvious. But it's not up to you to play the game. You know what I'm saying? It's up to you not to play the game. You know what I mean? Like, the Shine will always talk about Ronald Reagan and George Bush dropped coke and crack guns into black neighborhoods. We didn't have to sell it. You know what I mean? That's the thing that kills me. We didn't have to sell it. So if you felt it, like, it's like I think I said this before. If you line up cheese, like a line of cheese, and the mouse keeps eating a line of cheese, and the cheese eventually leads up to the mouse trap, and the mouse goes just eating all the cheese, and instead of taking a little bit of cheese and going there and taking their raggedy ass home, they're gonna keep eating all the cheese until they get up to the mouse trap, and just being greedy. Instead of saying, hey, this is a trap, I don't want to eat no more cheese, I've had enough, I had my fill, I don't want to eat that mouse trap, the cheese off the mouse trap, because I might get stuck. The Nignog mouse will go and eat the shit off the mouse trap just being greedy, and then go get stuck, and then cry about it and say, you shouldn't have set the trap. Well, you shouldn't have took the cheese off the mouse trap. It's that simple. You know, I'm not saying racism doesn't exist in society, but in fact about the systematic racism, man, we don't have to fall in the mouse trap. You know, we don't have to take the bait. Listen, you know, if we know the traps are out there, it's up to us to avoid the traps. It's that simple. You know what I mean? And you can't fault a certain group of people for looking out on their own. Black people should do the same thing. Other minorities do the same thing. That's why you don't hear them crying as much about systematic racism. That's because the Shine, the Akata, the Nignog, the Black Millennial, all they care about is white folks' feelings. Listen, if you... These Shines will say that people that are homophobic are deep down homosexual because that's all they talk about. You know what I mean? It's repressed sexuality makes them homophobic. And that's why they talk about it so much. And that's why they're deep down they're homosexual. This is what the Shine says. I didn't make that up. There's even think pieces wrote about that. So what do you say about the black people that all they cry about all day and night, 365 days a year, all they talk about is white folks and white supremacy, systematic racism, and being problematic, and they're being cisgender. What do you call black people that constantly talk about white supremacy and systematic racism? That sounds like, to me, they're envious of white people. Like I said all before, man, they don't hate white people, they love white people. They love them. Why would you talk about something constantly that you don't like? I don't know. It's crazy. Anyway, this is Uncle Hotep. There's 5 buzzwords that the Black Millennials have ran to death. They ran it to the ground, to the dirt, to the bristle. You know what I mean? So please, Black Millennials, you watching this video, please stop using these buzzwords or cut back. You know what I mean? If you gotta go to rehab to stop using all these buzzwords, man, then do so. But please, just stop using them so much. You're making them lose its meaning, and people are starting to tune out of all these buzzwords, particularly these 5 that y'all use to death. All right. This is Uncle Hotep. Hey, if you can donate to my Patreon, I greatly appreciate it. You can donate to my PayPal. Episode 53 of the podcast is up. You can listen on YouTube, on SoundCloud, iTunes. Follow me on Twitter, Handy Mayhem, and Uncle Hotep. My backup account, Uncle Hotep. All right? Peace.